Hi everyone, this is Teacher Jen from camgush.com and welcome to another fun and exciting lesson from Exploring English Book 6. This is by Tim Harris and Alan Rowe. We are going to continue our reading activity on this page, and it's about the Wickham Daily News. We already read page number 1, page number 2, page number 3. Now, it's time for us to read the next page. So let's start. I'm gonna read all. I want you to listen carefully, okay? Now, it was Mr. Bascom's turn. His knees were shaking as he stood up. His throat felt dry. He was so nervous that he couldn't hold on to his speech. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, "I realize that building a toy factory in City Park is a controversial issue, but let me explain why I'm in favor of it. The two main problems facing Wickham City today are high taxes and unemployment. The toy factory will provide hundreds of jobs while making it possible to lower your taxes. It's unrealistic to think we could achieve these goals by encouraging tourism. There are other towns in this area that are better equipped to handle the tourist trade than Wickham City. Rebuilding the Wickham Hotel is as expensive proposition and a risk that we cannot afford to take. On the other hand, the toy factory would be financed entirely by a company in Chicago. We wouldn't have to spend a dime, and we could be sure of the results." A few people in the audience started clapping, but Mr. Bascom couldn't hear them. "I have nothing against social programs," he went on, "but they cost a lot of money. And where is the money going to come from? Do you really want to pay higher taxes in order to have a boys' club and a daycare center? Are you willing to have the government spend even more of your hard-earned money? I don't think social problems are something the government should do for the people, but something that the people should do for themselves." Mr. Bascom looked out at the audience. There was total silence. It seemed as if no one there was on his side. He even thought he heard people laughing at him, just like in his nightmare. Fortunately, he was near the end of his speech. He finished by telling the audience about his plans for improving the economy. He reminded them that the only way to win the battle against rising taxes and inflation was to reduce government spending, and this could only be done with the help of the people. Finally, his time finished, he slumped down in his chair. He was certain that he had made a mess of his speech and was surprised to hear many people cheering. Later, after the question and answer period and the summing up, Mr. Bascom found himself face to face with Otis. He shook his hand and said, "Congratulations, Otis. I really admire the way you handle yourself in front of a crowd. I wish I had half your self-confidence and poise." Otis grinned and shook his head in astonishment. "But, Mr. Bascom, I was going to say the same thing to you. As for me, I was so scared I could hardly stand up. I couldn't remember a thing I wanted to say, and you sounded so convincing, I almost decided to vote for you." Now it's your turn to read this part of the story again. To do that, you can pause this video for a while, then read. When you're done, you can press play so that we can continue on our lesson. Now, let's go on to the next page, and these are the story questions. I'm gonna read all of them, and you have to answer, okay? If you cannot remember the answer, you can always go back or play back this video so that you can go back to the article. Why is it impossible to predict who will win the race for mayor of Wickham City? Why did the city council ask Otis and Mr. Bascom to hold a second debate? What advantages did Otis have in debating Mr. Bascom? Why did Mr. Bascom have trouble sleeping Sunday night? What happened when he finally fell asleep? What did he dream? Why was Mr. Bascom worried about his appearance on the day of the debate? Who was the first man to speak in the debate? Why is Otis opposed to building a toy factory in City Park? What would Otis do to make life better for the people of Wickham City? Where would he get the money to pay for his social programs? Why is Mr. Bascom in favor of building a toy factory in City Park? Why did Mr. Bascom say about social problems and the role of the government? Do you agree with Mr. Bascom? Why or why not? Which candidate do you think is better, Otis or Mr. Bascom? Why? Now, this is the end of our lesson. I hope you learned something. This is Teacher Jen from Camgush.com saying goodbye and see you on our next video. Goodbye!